Just press the button.
All right, I'd like to bring this quarterly meeting of the Bethlehem Landfill Committee to order, and I will turn it over to Cody and the Bethlehem Landfill to start their report.
And did you, Scott, just want to note that Astor unfortunately couldn't be here today, which is why Cody's speaking on behalf of the landfill.
Yes, the records show that Cody's here on behalf of speaking for Astor. Astor could not make it this afternoon.
I'm always here. I'm just hold it. We're going to start with the waste activities monthly tonnages for January. MSW was 10,595. C&D was 2,563. Residual was 742. Asbestos 0. Alternative daily cover 0. Sewer sludge 582 or 4%. And out of state was 4,830 or 33%. February totals were for MSW were 9,012. C&D was 2,041. Residual was 574. Asbestos 0. ADC was 0. Sewage sludge was 343 or 3%. And out-of-state totals were 4,157 or 35%. March's totals for MSW were 9,984. C&D was 6,502. Residual was 483. Asbestos 0. Alternative daily cover 0. Sewage sludge was 343 or 2%. And out-of-state was 7,535 or 44%. Recycling for January 7 or 70%. February was 9, 77.78. And March was 9, 77.78. Moving to form use middles, we had Blend Pro, Baghouse Dust, ADV Printing Co., Contaminated Soil, Patterson Avenue, Contaminated Soil, 2 Hershey Company food waste for both, Candlewick was plant trash, and Gregory Packaging was plant trash. The annual groundwater trend analysis was done for the first quarter during February 24th through the 27th. Corresponding reports were given on the 13th of February for the fourth quarter groundwater report, which is right here. Groundwater report goes through the next several pages, so we can skip along there until page 2. Landfill operations. The Department of Environmental Protection inspections were on January 24th, Matt Vipon and E. McNulty. January 22nd, Matt Klowski. February 14th, Matt Klowski. February 27th or 26th, Matt Vipon. March 12th, Matt Vipon, and March 13th was Matt Klowski. Post municipal was on the 2nd of January with Scott Brown, the 16th of January, Scott Brown. February 6th was Jay Sheree. On the 20th of that month was Scott Brown. Then March 6th was Scott Brown, and March 30th, Scott Brown. Commercial waste vehicles for January, total of 1,794. For February was 1,378, and for March was 1,809. Total overweights for January, 11, warnings, 10, and suspensions, 1. For February, overweights were 13, warnings, 11, and suspensions, 2. Then for March, overweight, 16, warnings, 14, and suspensions, 2. Flare and gas collection. The LFG flare is the main GCCS. Bethlehem Landfill continues to communicate with SCS Field Services with any routine or non-routine maintenances to maximize LFG production and minimize odors. The January average flare flow was 1,424 SCFM. The average plant flow from Archaea during January was 2,175 SCFM, and the total average for the entire system was 3,105 SCFM. We have, these are all shutdowns for our flare at Bethlehem. If you'd like, I can read all of them through, or if we're all happy about going through that.
I need to read every word for word in this.
Word for word. Page 3. No, okay.
Just the highlights.
Yeah, I'll go there. On 1/8/25 from 7:59 to 1/16/2025 at 22:50, the flare was turned off by Archaea to have all gas diverted to the plant. On 1/24/2025 from 17:28 to 1/25/2025, 12:05, the flare was shut down for troubleshooting of mechanical issues. On 1/30/2025 from 9:05 to 13:39, the flare was manually shut down for maintenance. Total downtime of the Bethlehem Landfill Company flare for January was 218 hours out of a total 744 run hours. February average flare flow, 2,200 SCFM. February average plant flow to Archaea, 1,194, and total average for the entire system was 2,989 SCFM. Shutdowns for that month pertaining to the Bethlehem flare were on 2/13/2025 from 8:21 to 2/14/2025, 13:15. The flare was manually shut down for burner tip cleaning. On 2/16/2025 from 1800 to 1853, the flare was shut down due to low average temperatures. Callout was responded by Archaea field techs. Flare was manually restarted. Total downtime for the flare in February was 29.8 hours out of 672 total run hours. March average flare flow, 2,565 SCFM. Average plant flow from Archaea during March was 2,478, and total average for the entire system was 2,994 SCFM. Shutdowns pertaining to just the Bethlehem landfill flare on 3/9/2025 from 17:04 to 18:25. Flare was shut down due to a thermocouple failure. Thermocouple was replaced. Flare was restarted. On 3/13/2025 from 15:03 to 3/18/2025, 21:39. Flare was shut down to divert all gas to Archaea facility. On 3/19/2025 from 8:17 to 8:20, flare was tripped by Archaea facility operations. On 3/19/2025 to 10:47, from 10:47 to 10:51, the flare was tripped by Archaea facilities again. On 3/21/2025, from 5:05 to 3/30/2025, 10:48, flare was down for Archaea facility adjustments due to Trans-Canada compressors. On 3/31/2025, from 10:30 to 23:59, flare was shut down from Archaea facility, for Archaea facility adjustments. Total downtime for Bethlehem flare for March was 363 hours, 0 minutes. Total flare runtime, 380. Total run hours out of 744.
So while the flare is operating, is Archaea operating too? Like, are you sharing, like?
Sometimes we run in tandem, and other times they're taking all the flow. That's why most of, like, when you'll see, if it was a manual shutdown or a manual transition, or if they were adjusting, they were taking all the flow at that time and our flare was off. Okay. Again, all these are on file if you want to see shutdowns.
And what is the status of building the second flare?
Still going through permitting, as far as our own candlestick was pushed to, I think it was June they put in, because we had to file an extension.
I'm talking about the flare on landfill.
Yes,
That's,
that's the candlestick flare, yeah.
it was June.
It was, yeah, okay, that's what okay, thanks. During Q1, North Slope Road has not needed repairs. The swale has not needed repairs. The abatement system continues to operate and discharge to the City of Bethlehem wastewater treatment plant. Leachate collection. Leachate Management Chamber 7, or LMC 7, showed an increase in flow for the month of March due to a flow meter malfunction. The malfunction has been remedied and the flow count has been restored to normal. Radiation monitoring. There was only one radioactive load alarm for from January to March of 2025. On 3/25/2025, the load was identified as technetium 99M, and the load was disposed of on site. All loads are reported to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Southern realignment construction activities. Waste operations were in SE2AB, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Complaints received by Waste Connections are in the packet in the back.
It's in the back?
Yeah, because all the leachate and water reports are up front, and then the complaints are before Scott's section.
So I have a quick question on aren't the waste operations in NR1? I mean, I know you're doing.
It must have been a typo then, because it should be NR1.
Can you clarify what the question is?
Southeast realignment construction activities. So all the waste operations are in NR1 right now. They have been for a while, they're doing some activity in SE2AB. The capping activities are there, but the waste activities are in should be
Maybe
NR1.
that was what he put in by accident.
So
just so everybody's clear on the correction, waste operations were in NR1.
correct.
And the capping activities
4
are in SE2AB Phase 1 and 2.
Yeah. Page 4 of those.
after the groundwater report.
Okay, so I'm still back at C attached, so where does that start? You said it's in the back.
The complaints?
Complaints received by Waste Connection.
Yeah, if you go from the back, it's probably faster, so it's 1, 2, 3rd page from the back.
Okay. Sticky fingers, and that's working today. Okay, what's at the top of the page?
It says 13 at the top of the page.
My page doesn't look like that. Wait, I see that.
Yes, is there 13 at the top of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there 2 pages to it?
Nope,
No,
that's
it's
it.
1 page, 30. I think they're 30.
Okay. Gonna have to get bigger, stronger bifocals.
Right, the dates run from January 13th, 2025 to March 18th, 2025.
We're just looking at the odor complaints. It looks like there are, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the way the wind is blowing or whatever, there are reports here from Bethlehem Township. St. Luke's Boulevard, Easton, Shirley Lane, Bethlehem. I don't think that's in Lower Saucon. I'm just looking.
Can you say that again, Victoria? I can't hear
There
you.
looks to be, it looks like more recently in March, there were reports of odors in Bethlehem Township.
Charlie Lane, I think Charlie Lane
Is it
is
Charlie?
Lower
Is it
Saucon.
Shirley?
This is Charlie.
Charlie. Okay.
Bethlehem Township.
that Bethlehem Township?
I don't,
Charlie, C-H-A-R-L-E-Y.
is there a Charlie Lane in Steel City?
No,
I don't think, it just says the name, that street, do you know?
I'm looking up on.
It's in
NCR
Bethlehem
right now.
Township.
Was it Charlie Lane?
Charlie Lane?
It's the new development that's just,
she says it's Bethlehem Township.
like, if you see.
It's,
Oh.
it's Bethlehem
Straight down,
Township,
that's-
okay,
that's
that's right,
what's-
okay, so I was right with that, okay.
In the commercial?
No,
Or
like,
is it-
it's up by, like, if you got up to the top of the hill and looked, like, toward ShopRite,
Oh, okay.
it's the little community that's right there. It's
Is
like,
Ivan Street in Lower Saucon? I-V-A-N?
Ivy, no,
no, this is Ivan
Ivan.
Street,
no.
Ivan Street, Bethlehem.
How did you spell it? I-V what?
I-V as in Victor, A-N as in Nancy?
I wasn't sure if it said A-N or E-N, sorry. Bethlehem Township, Ivan Street.
There seems like a lot of these. Hold on, I'm trying to. Milan Street? M-I-L-A-N?
Not in Steel City that I'm aware of.
I mean, it lists like the historical ones that are, we see from time to time, Riverside, Countryside, Reddington, Lower Saucon Road. Those are all listed here that I've seen in past, Jefferson Avenue, Steel City. But Sixth Street, Bethlehem. Is that Bethlehem Township? Okay. So I'd say, it looks like, and some of these do go back, so I don't know I guess, in Bethlehem Township, I've seen, like, just driving on Freemansburg Avenue, for whatever reason, the topography, it's very evident, whatever the current disposal area is very evident there, so for whatever reason, that odor is, like, coming right across, it looks like, at least based upon these odor complaints. There's more in Bethlehem Township than I've seen in the prior meetings that we've had. So that's concerning to me. I didn't mean to go ahead.
Huh?
Well, the garbage is lining up closer to the river than what it was, right? Like the fills.
Kind of on the other, you're on the north side of the High Point now, where everything prior to that was on the southern part of the High Point, so that probably is making some difference.
Yeah. You're gonna have to take another tour, Mary Ann.
Excuse me,
Now-
that Milan Street is over by ShopRite in that area also.
It's all in that section, okay. Thank you.
Ivan, I'm not sure, I don't see that over there.
Excuse me.
You good?
For now,
Good.
yeah, I'm good, go ahead. I don't wanna interrupt, I know I walked in, I assumed you started with the landfill's presentation. You haven't gone yet?
No.
Okay.
So we're back to,
Towards the last couple pages of the agenda.
Oh, I do have one question. That, I know that there is a current pending minor, modification for the, MSC wall. Would that MSC wall be on the other side of the current disposal area?
It's the MSE wall that was permitted with the northern realignment. It's just some tweaks to what was permitted before.
It was issued, it's not pending. They issued.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my question was, my understanding was the request to modify was to not put it in right now because of the pending phase 5. Can you explain
We'll
that?
get back to you with an explanation. That is a question that would be better fielded by Aster. So
Okay.
if you want to follow up, and it's unfortunate that he couldn't be here today, there are going to be some questions that we simply can't answer.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know if, Stacy, you want to keep track
I'm
of
not a
the
good time,
questions?
so I'll make sure I
Okay.
listen
Shoot
to
an
it.
email
Okay.
Send it to
to
him.
Okay.
Aster, and we'll make sure that you get the answers to
Okay.
the questions.
Yeah, I'm just curious in relation to the odor complaints and wherever that, like, and the site that they see with the current disposal, if that minor modification with the MSE wall be, assisting with what they're seeing on Freemansburg Avenue. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
think
I
out
mean,
loud.
if you could put that in an email, then
Okay.
we can get an answer for you. I'm not
Like,
sure
I don't know if the MSC wall would have been on that other side of it eventually.
It's gonna, the change, and don't quote me on this, is gonna prolong that visual aspect.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure
Yes.
out.
The minor permit modification
Yeah.
is gonna prolong
Can you
that.
talk in the microphone?
Go ahead.
That's okay.
So the concern, maybe for the purposes of the email, he said it better than me. Go ahead, say it. You said it better than me. Go.
I think the
You have to
concern
say-
is
Just say it in there.
the minor permit modification will prolong the impacts on the northern slope. Because obviously that disposal will be seen longer on that side, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's a concern
Yeah.
that we have to investigate
Yeah.
maybe with an email to Astor, sounds like.
Yeah, I'd have,
Yeah, I'm not
Defer
sure
to
I
him.
understand the question, which is why it'll be great if you put it in writing, and, we'll do our best to answer it.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to the section 5, the agenda, host municipal inspector inspection reports, odor observation and nuisance issues. January 2nd, 2025, there was no wastewater treatment plant odor detected along Upper Butter Road. And there's a slight landfill gas odor detected from the self-storage facility to Red Barn Auto before and after the landfill inspection. Vultures or seagulls were observed. Minor gas odor was detected at the southeast corner of SC2A and along the southern anchor trench of SC2A.
And Scott, just to clarify for people who might not understand that gas odor in the southeast corner of cell SE2A and along the southern anchor trench, those are on site.
Yes, that's all on site. January 16th, 2025, no wastewater treatment plant odor was detected along Upper Butter Road. No landfill gas odors were detected along Upper Butter Road also. No vultures or seagulls were observed. A minor gas odor was detected at the southeast corner of cell SC2A and along the southern anchor trench of SC2A. Again, that would be on site. February 6, 2025, a slight landfill gas odor is detected along Apple Butter Road, east of the self-storage building. A strong landfill gas odor is detected west of the maintenance building while traveling the east-west access road. That's basically the access road across the top of the landfill.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know where you're reading from.
It's like very back, it's section 5.
It's
Hey,
right after page 13 where the complaints were.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Scott.
fine. I'm just waiting for you to find it.
I'm getting there.
the
Page
pages
13,
are,
right?
pages are
Flipped. There you go.
Okay, so it's
Next
right,
page.
Going.
After that, right after that.
got it.
Okay.
I get the star.
Shoot, where's February 20th, 2025, no wastewater treatment plant odor was detected along Upper Butter Road. A slight landfill gas odor was detected between Red Barn Auto and the Krasnansky residence along Apple Butter Road before and after the landfill inspection. No vultures or seagulls were observed. A gas odor was detected along the eastern and the southeastern corner of the southern slope of SE2A. March 6, 2025, a wastewater treatment plant odor was detected along Apple Butter Road in the area of the S-turns and the auto shop. A slight landfill gas odor was detected in the area of Red Barn Auto along Apple Butter Road. After the landfill inspection, no landfill gas odor was detected along Skyline Drive through Steel City and Riverside Drive. A slight landfill gas odor was detected at the self-storage facility after the landfill. There was a minimal starling population at the working face. No seagulls or vultures were observed. The falconer was present, not president. Landfill gas odor was detected along the northern and southeastern corner of cell SC2A and B. March 20th, 2025, no wastewater treatment plant odor was detected along Apple Butter Road. No landfill gas odors detected along Apple Butter Road before or after the landfill inspection. No vultures or seagulls were observed. There was a slight landfill gas odor detected along the western side of the northern edge of SC2AB. No odors detected along the eastern and southeastern sides of SC2AB.
I have a question.
Sure.
What time do the odor observations take place during the day? As Astor pointed out, a lot of times the smell is, last meeting.
The inspection is about maybe 45 minutes from beginning to end.
Okay.
And so it's that around 10 o'clock. We say between 10 and 11, usually it would be the range of times.
Yeah, because you point out a lot of no odor observations, but looking at the odor complaint log, a lot of the odor complaints take place during non-working hours, early morning, late evening. Is it possible to
Right, when
ever
people
have
are home.
odor investigations take place at night or early in the morning?
Well,
Yeah. Well,
the township generally doesn't have us
Okay.
going out and you know, especially say traditional working hours, it's kind of a complaint driven. Cody, you were gonna?
No, I was just gonna say, like,
Scott, is there a way for you, because you go out, it's not like a surprise inspection or anything, so is there a way for you to schedule, like, I don't know, what time do you typically go during the day?
Well, so I was saying between 10 and 11.
Is
So
your
10 o'clock
time-
usually start, or around 11, so usually the finish of
Okay.
the landfill inspection.
Okay, is there a way, like, for you to, stagger those, like, maybe you could do 1 month, like, in the morning, earlier in the morning, and maybe one later in the day?
Certainly,
I
I
don't
can
know if
talk to
that's- I don't-
Astor and
it
see.
Depends on
Yeah,
what your schedule is.
I guess it's always been, as long as I can remember, it's been
10 to
that kind
11?
of, yeah, it's always been that for decades, literally.
10 to 11, okay.
Yeah, usually around that time, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we'll look into that. All right.
Yeah, Astor pointed out at the last meeting that the odors tend to be worse when the atmosphere is changing overnight.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And that's why I was just
Definitely,
curious when
yeah.
to do odor investigations when people are smelling.
That's why we call DEP. And that depends on how many people call it in and to determine whether they come out or not. So it's unfortunate because if the odor's there, but if you don't happen to walk outside your house, you're not gonna smell it at that time. Do you know what I'm saying? Nobody hangs out on the outside of their house in the wintertime or, you know, now probably will pick up in the summer because we'll be sitting out having picnics or eating outside, whatever.
And that's why we definitely encourage people to, in addition to calling something into DEP, call the landfill, because we're in a much better position to get out there when we get the complaint to determine whether it's originating from the landfill, if it is, why, and that we can take steps to take care of whatever is causing it. So, you know, we're not suggesting not to call DEP, but, you know, we're the ones that will be able to respond quickly.
They should call both. Priority is DEP, and what happens is people don't want to call DEP, and they're not going to call two people. That's the problem. But you know, the regulatory agency is DEP, and they keep track. And if they don't tell them that there's an odor, then nobody knows. The regulatory agency doesn't know. So we're assuming they'll pass it along.
And it's just not fast, you know, like.
There's going to be a delay.
You can call a 24/7 phone number at any time of the night, and someone is gonna pick up the phone.
From a call center or in person?
You know, from that emergency
No,
number.
It's in
Oh, you mean
person.
your facility?
Yeah, we conduct our
local
patrols at
Yes.
random times during.
Right.
Good to know.
Every
And we
day.
have,
I feel like we've said this so many times.
and it's on our
listed
website.
website.
Yeah, it is on our website.
No, it's good. I appreciate that the landfill's always active in responding. I feel like they have been, they do try to go out when people call them and investigate right away. So I've seen that. I don't know. I think the frustration is always like, if the person is gonna have, like, they're gonna stop what they're doing to make a report because it's really bothering them, like, they don't wanna do it twice. And right now, I don't think, like, if you get a report from a resident, you probably log it in your own like self-reporting logbooks, but I don't think that you then tell the DEP, we went out tonight to respond to so-and-so's
I don't know
odor.
what the reporting is, so
You
put
know.
that, Stacy, on the list of questions.
Like,
and
so,
we can
like,
let
it
you
would be
know.
helpful, cause like if we knew that the landfill was going out to investigate, and then they tell the DEP, we got an odor complaint, we went out, investigated it, we confirmed it, or we didn't, you know, we can't substantiate it, whatever.
Yeah, I don't
I
know
don't
what the
know.
protocol is, so yeah, go
Okay.
ahead and send the question, Cody, unless you can.
No, yeah, as far as odor complaints go, if we get a direct email from an inspector about a complaint that they received, we will, obviously, whenever they send it out, so let's say it was like 8 in the morning that it happened, but they might not email us till 10.
Right,
We
right.
still go out, investigate, we write the report, we send that back to them.
But is it reciprocal, meaning like if the resident contacted you first, and like you went out and investigated it, whatever you did?
We create a report, we report back to the resident, and then if there's suffice with it, then okay, but we recommend again that they call it to DEP so that they can get it on record.
Yeah, that's the difficulty we have, is just cause like if they call one person, that it's like it's kind of like an attention span that you have to deal with an issue, and any
There's
issue.
nothing we can do about that. We can only respond to what we're made aware of.
We could collaborate and say, like, if the landfill receives a complaint, that you could just forward that to the DEP. I mean, I'm sure you have an email that you can easily just say, send, but that's a voluntary thing for the landfill to do. I don't know if the landfill would be willing to do that.
Cody, do you keep records of all the odor complaints you receive?
Yes, we have everything.
So when the DEP does come into the landfill and they do your book inspection and your paperwork inspection, they will see this?
They'll see it on the daily, they'll see it on the weekly, they'll see it on basically any.
So it's not withheld from the DEP, it's pretty much shown to the DEP, because I know when I have.
It's required by the DEP that we do it every day.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm being flagged up.
Donna,
Donna,
we wanna make sure, like, we don't wanna like have this like a whole back and forth with the residents in the audience and.
It'll be your
it's
turn.
gonna Get crazy again, like usual. I don't have a problem with your questions, I just wanna make sure we have a time that we have them addressed, but.
I'm in the middle of a conversation, can I please finish this conversation and
That's
then
why
I'll follow your
it's
rules?
It's not a conversation though, that's what I'm trying to explain, that the meeting is not a conversation. The meeting is a meeting, and then there's public comment for the meeting, but I don't wanna have multiple conversations throughout the whole meeting. It becomes very difficult to get through the meeting.
Okay, I'll be quiet and sit down, I'll talk to you out in the parking lot, thanks.
No, I want you to come up when we have public comment, it's just.
Okay, you could stifle the
Oh,
residents,
okay.
it's okay.
Right.
We're not doing that, we're just having the meeting, and then we'll have public comment.
So I guess just so we're all clear on that, the point is that we're in the best position to respond to odor complaints. We encourage anybody who's experienced a complaint to call our 24/7 hotline, in addition to reaching out to DEP. We report everything to DEP. Our books are open for every inspector who comes on site.
Okay.
Okay, this is how I see it. Over the years, and the landfill has been cooperative and, trying to call both, whether they call DEP first or the landfill first, whoever, at least both people have it. We were encouraging that. The residents don't want to do that. They want to call one place. If they call DEP, they're the regulatory body. They're the ones that can get out there, and if there's enforcement because they're smelling an odor and it's becoming a malodor, they can take action. Okay, now let's turn that around, and the resident calls the landfill, and you take, no disrespect, take your time calling DEP. Now it's adding hours and hours onto the time when they're notified to get their nose out to the site to smell it, to issue a violation, if there's a violation.
I know.
See, that's my issue.
I understand, and I get it, 2 calls are harder than 1, but I think the best thing for a resident to do is to call the landfill and call DEP, or call DEP and then call the landfill, but the landfill's gonna get out there faster than DEP every time. But at least you can guarantee that someone's gonna get out there quickly.
And are you gonna issue yourself on a violation then, when you smell it off-site?
We report it.
I doubt it.
Problem,
That's my issue. I'm being honest, that I'm putting it on the table. That's my
We can't
issue.
address the, like, trust issues other than continuing to do the right thing, and hopefully we'll build that trust. But in terms of receiving the complaints, please call the landfill and call DEP. We go out, we're responsive, I think, as everybody has acknowledged, and we're doing our best to determine whether the issues originating from the landfill, because if it is, then we want to take care of it.
Well, most of the time it is.
Okay, well, great.
So-
If we get the call, we will investigate it.
Yeah, I will say one other thing and then we can stick a fork in this issue for now. But there's a requirement to keep a log of if the landfill, has an odor complaint, or they log it and they go out and they do their daily log. So it's a log that they keep track of. The DEP looks at it, but it's worth investigating with the DEP whether or not the landfill self-reporting is just as good as a DEP knows, and whether they would catalog it and investigate it in the same way. We've always been told, like for the residents' benefit, that the only way for the DEP to respond to odor issues is if they smell it and they have the report of it. I have seen in their reports, they go through and they list, like we inspected the landfill's reports, we looked through the logs, they look at the logs to see if they're doing the logs. If there's an issue, I think sometimes they mention their logs match what our logs match, and they sometimes cross-reference them. But I don't know, when it comes to the odor issue, whether or not if the landfill, whether or not if the DEP comes in and inspects a logbook from the landfill, and the landfill reported, they had, like, let's say 3 or 4 reports in a row, and somebody went out at night and found it, and they noted the odor. Like, I don't know whether the DEP is going to take that and say, oh, that's an issue with us looking at investigating, or whether they just say, okay, he's going out and responding, he's investigating. Because there are 2 different things. There's enforcement and there's just compliance. So compliance means that you can find a lot of things, but you're complying because you're noting them and keeping them in a logbook. So that's, in my mind, that is compliance. We're checking to make sure that you're keeping your logbooks, that you're reporting these things. What is reported is enforcement issues, and I don't know whether the landfill, keep on saying, I'm so sorry. The DEP will take what's in a report that the landfill made in their logbooks and turn that around and say, okay, we have to look into this further as an enforcement thing. I don't know. That's something, that's a DEP question.
We can only do what we can.
Yes.
Well, right, and I was just gonna say, we're 2 separate entities. Even if I did send the report to them, there's no guarantee that they would go and investigate my
Right, I don't
investigation.
know what
So
they- so
that's
we have to
in their
investigate
court.
that.
And then the other thing is the method and the way that it's described to the caller at DEP, because if you're nonchalant about it, oh yeah, we're smelling the landfill again. Oh, okay, well, this is really bothering the quality of my life, and this is important, and this is not right. It depends on the way that the person that calls in the complaint identifies the smell that they're smelling. So,
Okay, I'm sticking a fork in it.
you're sticking a fork in it?
It's
I'm done.
It's done.
Okay. Status of action items. January 2nd, 2025, the final cap installation between Phase 3 and cell SC2AB is to be completed. The additional gas wells to be installed above the southern anchor trench of SC2AB, that's still to be completed. January 16th, the final cap between Phase 3 and cell SC2AB is still to be completed. The additional gas wells to be installed above the southern anchor trench of SC2A, that's still to be completed. C, repair the leachate seep noted during the January 2nd, 2025 inspection, that is to be completed. Final cap installation between capped Phase 3 and cell SC2AB, it's still to be completed. The additional gas wells above the southern anchor trench of SC2A still to be completed. Leachate seep noted during the January 2nd, 2025 inspection was repaired, so that was noted as completed. February 20th, 2025, the final cap installation between phase 3 and cell SC2AB is still to be completed. Additional gas wells to be installed above the southern anchor trench of SC2AB, that's to be completed. And the installation of the candlestick flares still to be completed. March 6th, final cap installation between phase 3 and SC2AB to be completed. Additional landfill gas wells to be installed in the southern anchor, above the southern anchor trench of cell SC2AB is still to be completed. Installation of the candlestick flares to be completed. Removal of the litter from the northern slope just above the perimeter fence is to be completed. March 20th, 25. Final cap installation between phase 3 and cell SC2AB is to be completed. Additional landfill gas wells to be installed above the southern anchor trench of SC2A is still to be completed. Installation of the candlestick flares is to be completed, and removal of litter from the northern slope just above the perimeter fence, that was completed.
Scott, just for clarification, when we talk about, for example, like the final cap installation, that's an ongoing project.
Right, that's,
that has yet to
yeah,
be
I kind of
completed.
feel funny just repeating it, but it's ongoing. It's getting close to wrapping up. I was out today, and they're putting the soil cover over top now, so it will be noted as completed, not too,
Sure,
in a future.
for the general public
Yeah,
who may not understand that this is an ongoing
it's a long
capping
process, and plus winter, you can't install the fabric. It's but it is a long process. It's not a couple week construction project.
Did you say that there was some final things done with it just
Well,
now? Or
they're getting, the material has been, all the capping cover material has been put in place, and now they are putting the soil cover over top, so
so
it will be completed.
then soil, then vegetation.
Then
Right,
vegetation. So
right.
the fabric liner is basically done then?
The waste is covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's capped with the
The
material, the plastic
And
top,
okay.
yeah, and that, right.
Is that also where they were putting additional gas wells, or is that a different spot?
That was in, the additional gas wells were, you can correct me if I'm wrong, mostly gonna be in the area that was already capped at the south, along the southern side of SC2AB, so they finished that one up a while ago. It has the wind defender on top of it, so that's been capped for a little while now, for probably a year or so.
Yeah, we're scheduled to put in horizontal wells and everything along the trenching.
Okay, I was curious, how do you, like, when it's capped and, like, let's say you determine that there's like the cell 2AB is always like a hot spot. If the area is already capped and you have to put additional gas collection wells in there, how do you do that? Can you explain how that happens? Like, do you have to cut into the fabric to get in, to
I mean,
capture the
typically
gas,
you don't
or how
want to
does that
go.
work?
You don't want to go through your capping.
Right.
So there's tarp collectors along the infrastructure itself. So those are constantly collecting gas that may get into that. But normally what happens is that area will be capped and the gas will migrate. So by that's why we put wells above the trenches of where the capping is to capture the excess gas that's moving. Because it can't go out the capping anymore, so it has to go somewhere.
Okay, so it's migrating to some other place where there's still an opening or not a seam?
There's a cover over it, there's a cap over it, right?
Yes.
Right, you're not talking about the gas that escapes those, when you pick up gas ratings.
The SCM.
Yes, yeah, those things, that's totally different what you're talking about.
Correct.
Right, okay, just so I understand.
So if you have to put in more gas wells in a spot that's already been capped, can you just tell me how you do that? Is that,
Well, you would have to cut the liner and then place a boot, which,
Okay.
so basically you're lancing the liner, putting it in, sealing it again, and then to add more collection.
okay, and you're saying that's what's happening? There's a couple spots where that's happening? They're adding more
Well, they're gonna be
They're adding more, but
they're-
not onto the cap. It's
Oh.
above the capping.
Above the capping,
Because it
Okay.
can't get out of the capping, it has to path of
Okay.
least resistance.
Okay.
So that's what.
okay,
And my understanding that that design is still being
Yes.
completed and finalized. It's
Yeah,
not
that's a joint
final
operation.
Yeah, between
with us and
Archaea
Archaea.
and Bethel Landfill, they're both
Okay.
working on that.
okay. All right,
Quick question. On the cap, do you guys have your own like geotechnical guy out there monitoring, like when you guys? start
QC
spreading
guy?
soil? Your QC
Yeah.
guy does?
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's like the most important part of the whole project, you know?
Rob's,
Do you
like-
have to like give paperwork like you would with forms to DEP saying it's done correctly?
You get a certification.
Of the final cap?
Yep.
Is there, and you schedule an inspection like when it's complete with DEP?
Our inspectors.
No,
oh.
with DEP.
Oh, it has to go all through review.
Yeah.
So, Miser and Earl, or who's doing our QC will have to.
Like
see
no
us.
So
two,
the engineer has to
no two soils are the same, you know what I mean?
Well, right, they run
It's clay
proctors
or
and figure out what's gonna
whatever
happen.
Like, I didn't know what the controls were as far as, you know.
So,
Obviously, something happens 30 years down the road, someone's gonna be pointing fingers and say, you know, why do we have a cap failure, or why is this washing out, or what's going on, you know? What are the controls in place now as you're doing the work
they're,
to ensure
well,
that it's all right?
again, correct me, but as they're putting the cap on,
Yeah.
the PVC or HDPE cap on top, I mean, they will randomly go cut sections of welds out where you're butting and test those joints.
Yeah, I'm not,
So that
and
kind of
I
stuff.
don't mean as far as the actual cap.
Mhm.
I mean, what do you
Soil
put on?
compaction?
Yeah. 2 feet of soil on top? What is the actual soil where you actually plant the vegetation on top of the cap?
Well, there's a layer of pre-designed soil that they have for the engineer spec.
Yeah.
And then you put your topsoil and then your vegetation.
That's what I'm talking about.
You want like the specific,
No, I don't want it.
Oh.
I didn't know.
You wanted to know if it was.
if that's how it's
That's
done.
what they did.
Reviewed, certified,
Correct,
and then
correct,
monitored.
because
Yes.
if there's any, obviously, that's the major issue.
We have a QC guy from our, third-party on-site pretty much every day.
And then all those tiers, when you build your cap, do those all have riprap in them, or no? Those are just soil? Like where
The
does-
benches?
Yeah, the other benches.
Yeah, not all of them have riprap.
Yeah.
But it's.
That was a big issue.
All right. Surface emission monitoring reports. It's a new addition to this report. March 6, 2025. The SEM report dated January 17th, 2025 noted on December 2nd, 2024 that there were 5 penetrations with gas emissions above 500 parts per million. Upon notification by the, who's the?
SES.
SES, yeah. Too many initials here. SES notified Bethel Landfill of the exceedances, and at Bethel Landfill immediately went over and placed additional cover material around the 5 penetrations. A 10-day recheck of the 5 penetrations found that there were no emissions above 500 parts per million. The 1-month recheck also found no emissions in excess of 500 parts per million. SCM report dated January 30th, 2025 noted on December 27th, 2024, 1 cap penetration located in the southeastern quadrant of SE1A with a gas emission above 500 parts per million. Upon notification, BL placed additional cover. A 10-day recheck of the penetration conducted on January 6, 2025. No emissions above 500 parts per million were detected. The 1-month recheck was conducted on January 2024, and no emissions above 500 parts per million were detected. March 20th, The SEM report dated February 24, 25 noted on January 24 of 2025, there were 2 cap penetrations and 1 route exceedance found to have gas emission levels above 500 parts per million.
Can you just stop there for a second? What is a cap penetration?
Where you're actually going through.
Yeah, that's any object that goes down into, so like a well itself would be a cap penetration.
Okay, so if they note a cap penetration, is it that there's like some kind of debris or object obstructing the collection of gas and?
No, not necessarily. There could be a rill near the well, there could be that maybe the well is turned down too much, like it's not pulling as much as it should, like that there's several different reasons why you could have a penetration at, or an exceedance at a penetration.
And just because I think I understand maybe your concern, it's not where there's like a compromise in the cap, like something broke through the cap.
Okay,
So
that's what I was like, what's a
wells that are
penetration?
designed and engineered, and they take for surface monitoring measurements at those locations to determine whether anything needs to be done. Like, I mean, you might like tighten up your well or
yeah, you could add soil, you could replace a boot if it's on an actual capping area, and there's several different remedies to the
It's
issue.
just a mechanism by which there could be an exceedance measurement, so they're calling it like a penetration versus 1 route exceedance.
It's sort of a technical term. It's like where there is a well or otherwise.
Yeah, to reiterate, just a penetration is anything that is going into the landfill that could create an emission, and a route is walking around.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Cody.
Okay. The 10-day recheck, the 3 exceedances found no emissions above 500 parts per million, and the 1-month check also found no emissions above 500 parts per million. The DEP inspection reports, we're going to go back into the last December 2000. Actually, there's a typo there. It should be 2024. Because that report of the DEP inspection was not available in time for the January meeting. So we're going to go back one. Violations noted in that report, BL has been improperly noting the intermediate cover as proper, particularly on the upper deck. Flagging of waste and degraded intermediate cover was observed during prior inspections and not properly addressed. DEP noted that the BL has responded to the February 8th, 2024 notice of violation regarding fugitive air emissions, but the violation is still outstanding. So basically, it means they've
Go ahead.
have addressed it. They've addressed it, or are addressing it, but the legal, there's a legal mechanism to stop.
I mean, and we talked about this before with respect to an NOV. Sometimes there's an NOV where there's like a super quick fix, right? And sometimes there's an NOV where, for example, the odors from the southeast corner, that's been an ongoing process. I think we had talked about how it was because of elevated precipitation levels and, sort of the soaking of the waste mass. So we went in and we did a series of remedial efforts, right? That worked, and then, 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of thing. That's been an ongoing effort. So from DEP's perspective, once they are satisfied that the fix is something that is consistently working, then they'll close out the NOV. So some NOVs get closed out very quickly because there's a quick or quickish fix, and others, they're sort of like, a capping. If there's a capping project associated with addressing the situation, that takes time, sometimes many months.
I just had a question on when they're talking about the intermediate cover as proper on the upper deck, what was that involving? Like, what was wrong, or what was the discrepancy?
I don't know if you want to take that, Scott, but
well, I mean, there was waste that was being relocate it at the upper deck down to some of the other benches, that they have to bring those up to the proper grades before they put the capping material over, a liner over top, the cap liner and soil over top. That was ongoing, you know, every day or several times during the week. And I believe the inspector was saying that it should have intermediate cover on that, which is a foot of cover over top of the material, and BLs, they look, you only have to use intermediate cover if it's sitting more than 30 days inactive.
Okay.
So a DEP was saying that it should have been intermediate cover, and Bethel Landfill was doing the daily cover over top of that material at the end of each day when they, you know.
Okay.
So there's just.
And that's those are the conditions that resulted in, I guess it was the February 10th, 2025 NOV. And we responded to that on March 12th, and then a supplemental response on March 17th. And as Scott explained, we disagree on the legal issue of whether we were subject to intermediate cover requirements, and then as a factual basis, but it's all laid out in our 2 written responses to that NOV, which a copy of which was provided to the township.
Okay, was that moving of the waste, was that to rectify any grading issues that were
That's what I was, but yeah,
problematic?
well, I wouldn't say it was a problem. They were, you know, over time the waste does settle. So when they shot some of their slopes.
When you say shot their slopes?
Well, took elevations, like a surveyor went and took elevations. They saw there were areas that are low, which is common. So then, you know, they had, I guess, some options, whether, you know, they had that waste they could put back in, or if it was a minor amount, then they could just add dirt over that to get it up to the proper grades. You have to get each bench correct at the correct elevation, or it's going to be there's going to be a cascading thing where they're all going to be off and either too steep or.
And that work was being done in connection with the final capping project, and
Right.
to make sure that we were controlling all of the stormwater associated with that.
It's a while ago, and you brought this up maybe 8 months ago. The concern about the final elevation level was like whether it was 725 or the permitted maximum height. And so it's my understanding when they went to there was an investigation to see whether the height was proper. They discovered that those benches were not, they weren't at the grading levels that they were supposed to be, or they had settled. So
something like that.
It was settlement, not an exceedance, right? And that's why we were moving.
So then you were moving.
So the ultimate height, that 725 was not. It was one of the issues down below. So you got the top here and you got the benches going down. It was some of these grades on the benches that were off.
Within the, okay. So I thought that was important to give back to the committee and the residents, because that concern did result in identifying things that we wouldn't have otherwise known about or hadn't.
Well, I'm, with all due respect, I don't know that we can characterize any of that, but I guess the point is that the concern was relayed by the township to DEP. DEP asked us for information. We provided information to DEP. That's separate and apart from the work that we were doing with respect to the regrading and the stormwater controls. That was sort of same area, but had nothing to do with the question about an exceedance.
I just thought that they found that the benching was not correct as a result of that investigation. That's my
That's
my
not correct.
understanding.
That's work that we were doing on our own as part of the final capping project.
Okay. Somebody told me something different, so.
I think the township question was the 725 number.
That's what our
Because
question was,
when you're looking at Bethel Township, the left side, because I'm assuming because it's closer, looks a lot higher.
It's a perspective thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
But when when you did do the topographic, you shot your own survey, and then you gave those numbers to the DEP?
Yes.
We have to do that annually as
Yeah.
part of our annual.
And you do the entire landfill, not
Yes.
just the top grades, the
Correct.
entire thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, DEP observations. There was a slight intermittent landfill gas odor and garbage odor. Landfill gas odor and garbage odor was detected along Apple Butter Road east to Ringhoffer Road before and after the DEP inspection. January 24th, DEP noted violations. There were no violations during the inspection. DEP noted that BL has responded to the February 8th, 2024 NOV regarding the fugitive air emissions, but the violation is still outstanding. So same as we previously just discussed. Their observations.
Sorry, thought I had it on. It's on mute, why did it ring?
Technical error.
Maybe, maybe.
Observation, a slight intermittent landfill gas odor was detected along Apple Butter Road near Ringhoffer Road. A slight intermittent odor of landfill gas was detected along Apple Butter Road between Swints and Red Barn Auto, and a slight sewage odor was detected at the wastewater treatment plant. A strong landfill gas odor continues to be detected at the southeast slope of SE2AB, and a ballooning of the wind defender tarp was observed due to low vacuum by Archaea. That's the renewable energy plant.
Okay, just to stop there, I think that's the issue I think we had we brought up last time. There seems to be like some things that have to be worked out with Archaea's communication and collaboration with you on collecting the gas and flaring it and all that.
At that time, they were having mechanical issues, so they couldn't provide as much vacuum on the field during the inspection.
They couldn't provide as much what?
Vacuum on the field to pull as much gas. They were dealing with an issue with their engines, and it just happened to be low that day on inspection.
Okay, so like in that situation, is the mechanical breakdown then prevent the landfill to pull the gas also, like because there's a breakdown in that spot?
Well, I'd clarify your question. You're asking like...
Well, so it was Archaea's line you were saying that wasn't, the vacuum didn't have enough, so that's what caused the problem. Is there a mechanism by which if Archaea's breaks down, yours can pull in as a backup?
We could have turned ours on, but if we would have, it would have interrupted their maintenance. So it's a give and take, run the same line.
Okay, so they're on the same line, so they can't do their maintenance and you can't.
They can do their maintenance, but at the time they needed gas to fix the issue. They needed to see how it was going through their system.
Okay.
Number 3, requested information from the January 24 inspection. An explanation of DEP was requesting an explanation of why the gas not handled by Archaea was not directed toward BL's flare. So just a question you were just asking. Yep.
Okay. I realized, okay.
10-day follow-up monitoring readings from January 24 monitoring event. They did a recheck of the reports that I mentioned a few lines back, or under the SEM reports, and they were requesting monitoring data from November and December 2024, the monitoring maps and data. So that's again having to do with the surface air emission reports. They wanted to get those a little quicker.
Yeah.
Than
And we provided all that information.
Right. Yes.
And DEP noted in that same report that BL must submit the surface monitoring data within 30 days of the monitoring events. So my understanding is now that you're providing the mapping, but that some of the data, the reports can't be submitted because you're doing the 10-day, the report's kind of completed after the 10-day and the 30-day check is done. So it's almost, could be, yeah, you can't, it's not possible to do within 30 days because you're still doing the checks on the 30th day. February 26, 2025, DEP noted the following violations. Noted there were no violations during that inspection. DEP also noted that BL has responded to the February 8th, 2024 NOV regarding the fugitive air emissions, but the violation is still outstanding. BL has addressed the degraded intermediate cover soil on the upper deck. February 8th, 2024 NOV, but that NOV still remains outstanding. The odors noted during the August, October, November, and December inspection reports have significantly diminished. DEP observations, strong landfill gas odor was detected in the southeast corner of SE2AB. Some wind-blown litter was observed in the trees opposite the portable mister. So that was the mister up. They didn't really clarify. I assume they mean the mister up top.
They were talking about the old
one down at the southeast corner.
Yeah.
Okay. And BL was told about it, and BL responded that they would address the issue by the end of the week by bringing in. Typically, they'll bring in additional help to help clean up litter. And that concludes.
Thank you.
My reports.
Can I just ask one question related to the air or the water sampling report? I guess it would be page 5 of that report. It
Are you
talks
talking
about
the groundwater trend, number 2?
The February 12th report that's at the very beginning of the report, or beginning of the packet.
From Phyllis?
Yes, from Lisa and Earl.
The one that's,
Okay,
Yep.
so if you go to the Meister and Earl report and then you go to page 5 of that report. So the second full paragraph, it talks about wells MP9D and MP9D. It says second quarter 24 results continue to show higher sulfate levels that are likely influencing the levels of calcium chloride, magnesium, specific conductivity, and TDS. Also, total organic carbon, TOC concentrations remain somewhat higher in both wells at levels less than 5 mgs per L. The change in water quality is likely due to the approximate 15-foot fill material added to the area of construction for the renewable natural gas facility. Can somebody can you provide some further clarification on that? I just get a little concerned because it's referencing that there are higher concentration levels, and unlike a lot of the other wells that are dealing with unlined areas of the landfill and historic trending, this one seems to directly identify the concentration increase due to this 15-foot fill material.
We'll provide clarification. I don't think Cody or I are qualified to answer your question, but we can get an answer.
Yeah, because that's like all related to Archaea Energy thing, and I get very concerned with groundwater. So that's, to me, that's, for everybody's benefit, when you look at this, for the public, when you look at this, a lot of it talks about historic trending and whether it's higher or lower. And there's a part of the landfill that was historically never lined, and then that caused the infiltration of different chemicals that compromised the groundwater to a point where it was no longer of drinking water quality. So they monitor it, and then
there's a groundwater abatement system in place to
Right, but they also have these wells that they drill to check and monitor to see if there's any changes in, depending on how the old trash from like 1990s, how it's, depending on how it decomposes, it can change the water quality level and the chemicals in there. And in this particular instance, it doesn't seem to be related to old or,
We'll get an answer to you, for you.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's above my pay grade too.
I just have another question on the wells. It seems like every time there's a well report, there's always one or two damaged wellhead caps. I'm assuming they get replaced and new ones get damaged. How do they get damaged? Somebody runs over them with a truck?
That's what the city used to do.
Quite frank, a lot of times in the winter, they're close to roadways, so when they're plowing roads with dozers, they
Okay.
clip them,
Okay.
and then they have to replace the top. So, as far as low-end maintenance, yeah, it happens.
That's what I figured. I was just kind of curious. They do get replaced.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a question. We started talking about, in the beginning of the meeting, about the, the MSE wall and how that wasn't gonna get final closure to it yet. They were keeping that open till they fill in different areas. Was that what I was understanding?
There was
I
a,
think
It's
it's
just
a resequencing.
resequencing, yeah, of the original, what DEP originally had done. The way they sequenced it, they would have had to build this wall to continue on. Now they've took another look at it, and they think they can continue filling without building that wall. And that wall would have allowed more trash right at the wall to
they're
go in. So
eliminating
it's
the
really
wall?
gonna change. What's that?
They're not eliminating
They don't need the wall now. It's still not precluding it from going in down the road, but we don't need.
Oh, okay,
Right
so the
now,
construction of the wall, but meanwhile, you're still filling, okay.
We resequenced so that we wouldn't have to.
I got it now, okay.
Kind of working around, I guess, is a good way to put it, and just, it can maybe go in at a later date if it's.
Okay, and the eastern edge of the northern, realignment, that's still not closed off, right? We're looking at the box, it would be the eastern edge.
That's the western.
The
Sorry, you're
northern
right.
realignment,
What's that?
there's no, you're talking NR1, the new fill area?
I'm talking where the water tank is, and if you go down where that edge is,
That's.
She's looking at
with-
the one up
the wrong thing.
I think.
Well, they have the,
that's like easement for not using it, but.
I mean, there's the wind
It's not
defender on.
closed. It's not
It's
finally
it's
closed
not
on the edge.
No, it's not final cover. I mean, there's no final.
But that was supposed to be done, and from what I was reading, in the northern realignment, there was a period of time when that was supposed to get closed.
Well, we can, yeah, honestly, I don't.
Do you know what the schedule is
Maybe you
for
could,
it?
send us the particular question
Long time.
in an email,
Honestly, I
we
don't
can go back
remember
and look, like,
if that was
your
part of the new
recollection
permit
is based on a plan
condition
that you've been referencing
It
so
was-
much, we
of
can get
NR.
those answered.
It just, I read it a while ago, so I can't remember where it
Yeah, I
was.
don't know how to-
You know how that is, you read so much stuff, it's like,
But it's unfortunate,
like-
like, we can't, because it's nothing
Right.
specific, we don't know how to respond to your question.
Close it off
Well,
without removing waste.
was answered before, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Is it nobody from Archaea?
Jake, he was unavailable, he just got back from Maine.
Okay. So there's nothing to report under the Archaea section. Anybody from the PFAS treatment plant?
They were also.
No, their rep is actually away, on holiday with their family. He's from upstate New York.
I just have a question, maybe, the landfill knows this, if they don't, it's okay. When I went to the opening of the PFAS treatment plant, there were, it was very informative, and they were describing how they wanted to, collect the PFAS, liquid, and then they would have to like solidify it in some way before they reburied it. But they hadn't quite designed how they were gonna, like what they were gonna make it to put it back in the landfill, like turn it into something like partially solid. Do you know, if you have been able to rebury any of that PFAS yet?
We
The
haven't,
answer is no.
we haven't done any,
Nothing has gone back into the landfill at this point.
Okay, so is it just being collected down there?
I don't know the answer to that question.
they're storing and
There's
working
not a
on,
lot of it.
Yeah, I asked Astor this morning, and he said
Oh,
nothing,
okay.
it's still just being collected and solidified, and so nothing's been,
Do you know what they're
Take-
solidifying it into?
a solid.
it's just a solid, I mean, it's just like a,
Like,
I guess I
I'm trying to figure
picture.
out, is it like cement solid? Is it like putty solid? Like
Honestly, I
I'm
don't.
actually like really curious. It's like, what do you make it?
Yeah,
I don't,
Like,
Last I've heard from John, it was they're using some polymer and then just.
like a
just
plastic.
Polymerization, so kind of like getting it to all congeal and then solidify.
Is it like jello? Like, is it
Don't know, yeah, we don't.
Yeah, no,
know.
I, again, it's all
Curious, like,
under.
what does it look like? Sorry.
No.
Okay. So, but okay, so we're just keeping it down there. All right.
I have
Okay.
one more question. For the minor permit modifications, do we send that to Hanover for comments or no? Or does that just go to DEP and then get
Just-
kicked back right to the township?
The township gets copies of everything that we submit to DEP.
we don't, like, we didn't, unless it would involve, something from a land development side or, we don't,
Because
I don't think we received any
when you,
private comment on that.
when you originally, like, for the northern realignment, that whole package came in with all the phasing, with all the drawings, with all that. Hanover Engineering reviewed that and commented on that, correct?
From a land
Yeah.
development,
Land
from the land development standpoint.
Not so much
not
as a
technical,
as a phasing, not a technical.
not from a landfill operation and
Not like before
construction.
when Larissa was here.
Right, no, that
Not
was,
like any of that.
So that, you're just basically
They.
off,
I
like,
talked to Brian about this because I wanted to know. I said, do they look at what's going on? And he said, other than like when they initially went through their land development
Yeah.
plan, that's it.
you don't do stormwater calculations.
So I
well, we
talked
would
to
as part of the
Brian,
land development,
Yeah.
yes.
But like
Yeah.
ongoing stuff, like they don't look at it. So that's something that the township's trying to address right now.
To reestablish what it was before.
Like that's a big void.
Cause there's all kinds of stormwater calculations on that minor permit application. And it's
Yeah.
like, the only person looking at it is DEP right now, that's it.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
But before, we would hire Hanover never did it. Or they
No,
did.
Hanover never did it.
No.
From what at least
Yeah.
what Brian
No.
said. that
No,
Hanover
there
never
was
did
always
it.
Larissa that was the technical
Yeah,
engineer
before
that, right.
So,
And that was a review, and then they would provide comments to DEP
Yeah.
on that.
Right.
It's not like there was an approval report.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah.
that's something that's something we're working on,
Yeah.
is to reestablish those independent checks and balances so that, at least from the township's perspective, we can have comments like that had been historic. So that's what we are working on, making sure that we put people back in place because Larissa's retired. So there's not, this person that Larissa used to do it, she's not
And
available
Jim
anymore.
Birdsall used to do.
Yeah, God love him, yeah. Miss him, yeah.
So, and I think it's helpful for everybody to get those comments, but for the township right now, it's kind of like we're walking in a room with blindfolded.
Yeah.
So we want to take the blindfolds off and at least be able to understand what's going on a little bit more.
Okay, I guess at this point, we're up to the public comment.
Public comment.
Donna, you want to come up?
I'll speak to him outside, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome to come and give it, because I just wanted to.
Record anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead, come up to the.
I'm from Bethlehem Township, so I am
Want to
seeing
speak in
it,
the mic?
not really. I am seeing it from the opposite side, Tina Bartley.
Tina Bartley.
So I'm looking at it, opposite of what you guys, where you're at. And there's some giant piles now across the entire mountain, which is probably way higher than I think you're allowed. height. I know it's just probably dirt, but there's like pile. There's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, those are stockpiles for our cover soil,
Okay.
and there's no real height limit other than keeping it so that it doesn't create like a water issue or pooling of that sort. So there's no regulation technically of how tall we can build a stockpile because there's not
It's
a
like
height limit
kind of
on
on the highest part on your east side. It's kind of even higher, so it's just.
it. And it's only just because it's closest to the working face we're at now and the most space we have.
Yeah. Okay. It's just, it's already not attractive looking, and now we have all these extra. It's even higher. So like the trees are here, you got the mountain here, and then you've got the pile here. So it's just.
Yeah, and that's
It's a
just
lot
dirt,
of-
and those will move, that's not any kind of permanent
Right,
condition.
right. I mean, it's been there about 6 weeks now. And, the northern realignment is becoming pretty obvious over here on Bethlehem Township side. I mean, you guys were kind of there, but we're seeing it more now. And
Yeah.
it's not pleasant. And like, we can actually see the garbage falling. And I actually see it falling down the slope. Like, I can see it, like there's white little things.
Like out of the trucks and as it falls.
Yeah, it's, I know it's a dump. I always, like, in my head, I always thought it was like, it went down, like into a hole. But it's like
It
building so
originally does,
high.
and then it
I know.
builds up.
I see where you're at. I guess you're on the first capping or the first cell?
Of NR1, yes.
Pretty high, so I believe you're gonna be starting 2 and
Once
then
we get to
3.
the new one, it'll go
Further to the-
down, and you won't see as much activity.
Yeah.
But I mean, spring's almost here. Hopefully, we get a little bit more.
Yeah, it looks pretty high. So I guess I was just curious about the piles. I know it's just already high. I was just hoping that
Yep.
maybe.
Can you do a notation, if we have to put it on, as a request to, request the DEP whether or not the maximum height level must include,
Soil.
like,
There's no regulation on how tall we can build a stockpile.
Yeah, we can ask DEP, but it's not, I mean, the
Stockpile,
elevation
it's the
requirement-
725 is the completed capped
completed capping, but they can
landfill.
go above 725 temporarily to have the
With the stock, yeah.
Okay. It is a lot more obvious, and I guess, I know it was supposed to kind of fill in the old footprint of the old landfill, but from what I have learned is the old landfill never went above the trees.
No, never went above the trees.
So, we're here, and now we're going higher.
Have you,
It just seems like, when I think about the footprint, it's down here. And now you guys are going up here, and there's like this huge just mountain of garbage. And it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's not maybe what anybody expected over here on this side, on the north side.
It's part of the engineering plan that they was
know.
eventually going to go up to that
I
height.
think when you draw it on like a piece of paper, it looks really different than when you actually come on.
Tends to be flat.
To the north side.
But-
It looks really, it literally looks like it's falling, and I think it does fall. It must be pretty sloped at some point, because I actually can see it daily. I can see what you guys do daily. I actually see it falling down. And there's like, I guess you call it flagging. I can actually see it kind of scattered all around. I think you eventually get it, but it's just not pleasant. I mean, I do go to, St. Luke's. I might possibly work there, and the surgery center literally overlooks the landfill there. And it's just, you can't escape it. It's just right there. I just really feel like, it's just in the middle of so much right now. There's just such a high population, like people are everywhere. There's hospitals, there's.
No, and I agree, but they built around us.
And, yeah, I mean, we understand what you're saying, and again, just with respect to the soil stockpile, that will be a temporary condition, for whatever.
I see it
time
moving. I do see it moving around. I see it flattening and high, but it gets higher. But, it's also just an eyesore because now it's even higher. So it's lumpy and bumpy, and I know it's soil, but I also see the garbage, literally, falling out. Like, I just wish we didn't see garbage trucks on the top of the hill dumping garbage where you can actually see it trickling out. Like I don't know if you can see that on the south side.
we can't, so I was gonna say, like, if you take
I have
pictures,
tons of.
we know in our township, like, some people, they got emails from DEP, and DEP really wanted to get those emails to see, because obviously a picture is worth 1,000 words.
million words, whatever. So if you observe that on that, because we can't see that on our side unless we drove there, and so if you're there on a regular basis and you notice that the waste is coming down or trickling down, take pictures and send it to DEP. That way they can be aware of it, and I don't know if the landfill would like to see them too, if it would help you, I don't know.
You can,
I certainly call you, but.
yeah, whenever.
But if you send the email with the picture,
I'm just seeing it, and I wish we didn't have to see it. I wish there was a hole. I wish it went in the, instead of up, it's very obvious. It's very unfortunate,
Yeah.
and I don't know that Bethlehem Township really knew what was gonna happen here with this whole thing. And I don't even know that we're that involved when it all happened, back in the day, because it's
I don't-
your township.
I don't think
So-
they had participated in that,
I think it was over
permit
4 days.
application,
I don't know.
yeah.
It was not in a good time, but it's just an unfortunate, place where we're looking at, and it does affect a lot of people in the area, so.
And just so everybody understands that as part of the DEP permitting process, there's something called a local municipal involvement process meeting, which happens after an applicant submits an application. And there's notices sent out to all of the adjacent municipalities, inviting them to come to a meeting where the project is explained and things like that. So I get it that Bethlehem, as I recall, because I was part of the permitting on the township side for both the southeastern realignment and the northern realignment, and Bethlehem was not part of any of those local approvals, but, they do, at least so you know, they are made aware of DEP permit.
I think they probably got a letter and was like, it's not gonna affect us. I don't think they really realized it until it happened. And all of us, since January, since it started, I see it changing, weekly, and it's not for the better. I just hope that cell 2 and 3 isn't as obvious and horrendous as cell 1. Because it looks really, really high, and it's, I don't know. I'm just hoping, if there's anything you could do, like I said, plant more trees, because I know trees can fall. I don't, do it on purpose, but anything to make, make it.
Well, hopefully once the MSC wall goes in, and,
Yeah.
because they're green walls, so it'll be a little bit less.
That's why I was asking that question about that MSC wall, to the hope that it would hopefully shield or make it look better from that vantage point.
It's the smells too. And I have to say, it is later at night. I don't know if it's because the gas is being flared at night, but I don't see the flare. I see the sky turn orange on our side. So everything just kind of brightens up. But I really come out at night when I let my dog out. So I'm out at weird hours, and I do smell it. And
When you say late, what's late for you?
it could be for me, 9:30. Like, not like late. I'm not out at 2 in the morning, but I mean, like, it seems like the evenings are worse, like the mornings and the evenings, like they said. But when I walk my dog, like, I'm up and down hills, so I get whiffs of things, depending on where I'm walking. If I go down, sometimes I smell it. If I'm higher, elevated. So it just depends on the way the wind blows and all the different.
Yeah, and again, if you're concerned about it at the time, please call us, call DV.
I never called you, but I should get your phone number.
Okay.
And the number's on the township website, if you, like the hotline number.
If you take pictures and if you send those to emails us, yeah.
I may not know it's, hey, by the way.
I think it would be helpful if the landfill got them and the township got them, we have manager@lowersaucontownship.org is our email address, Stacy. That would be the best place, because then we can also try and see what we can do on our end. So, but we need to receive an email, phone calls don't do as much as an email with that type of issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not getting a signal right now, but I can show you where on the website.
Okay, Lower Saucon.
Yeah.
Any other residents, anybody want to have questions or comments? Going once, twice? Donna, seriously, this is your opportunity. Okay.
All right. Then I guess we will close the meeting.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, so Stacy, were you keeping track of the questions? Okay.
Well, I have,
Thank you.
Yeah, there were
I wrote the timestamp, so I'll listen to it and type it up
stuff.
and send them.
So you're so good. You saw that.